The next generation is Gen X, my generation. Those of us born between 1966 and 1981. Now, this is a small generation sandwiched between two very large generations of boomers above us and millennials below us. But yet this generation, Gen X, is firmly entrenched in leadership right now. So it's very critical you know this word that goes with Gen X, and that word is level. Level. Now, why would it be level for Gen X? Well, it has everything to do with the next image I'm getting ready to show you. It's about the video games we grew up playing. Here's what's interesting about all those games, whether it was Space Invaders or Centipede or Pac-Man or any of the others that we grew up playing. You put a quarter in a game, you got 3 lives, you rode those lives as long as you could in that game, climbing as many levels as you could, trying to ultimately get high score. You were trying to get on a high scoreboard of a game. Now, here's what's interesting. Those high scoreboards, the technology of the day, only allowed us to put our 3 initials into. You couldn't put your whole name into it because the technology wouldn't allow it. So when I looked at a high scoreboard back then, I didn't know who these other initials were. I was very focused on me trying to get as high as I could in that game. What you need to understand about Gen X is simply this. We do not compete generally against people. We compete against a game. This is a very hard concept for boomers to get their head around because boomers oftentimes can draw a circle around someone and say, I'm going to go bury that person. I'm going to go beat that person. But that's not really how Gen X thinks. We tend to find a game that we are trying to level up in, and we are trying to do all that we can to get as high on that high scoreboard as possible. So now let me swap the word game out for the word priority, and it'll start to make a lot of sense. We have certain priorities right now in our life, both personally and professionally, that we're trying to climb up to the next level in. And so when you're trying to connect to Gen X, here's the question you need to ask. What are your top 2 priorities? Top 2. And the reason why you want to ask the question that way is because if you ask me what my top priority is today, I may not know, or I may feel guilty saying this over that. If you ask me for 3 priorities, that's probably just too much. But 2 allows me to say, well, it's probably this and this. Your job is to hear what I just said and help me climb levels in one or both of those games, those priorities. So when you're connecting to Gen X, recognize that we are trying to go to the next level personally and or professionally in some game. Your job is to find out what that game is and simply use the word priority to describe it and help me climb levels in one or both of those. That's Gen X.